So if you're listening to this on iTunes, you're going to notice about halfway through a weird jump cut in the middle while we're talking about one of the things that we like. Some technical issues, even after the initial technical issues. So if everything's okay, it'll continue. It'll be your normal podcast. All right. This may be episode 19 of Ain't This the Fun podcast. We're going to try this again for the third time. Hopefully I fixed it. I'm going to have to mute the mic here for a second in order to watch my screen to see if you can hear me talk and then if you can hear him talk. Our usual bi-weekly guest, Erik Childress. Start talking.
Yeah, I'm talking now. Hopefully you can hear me. Now, we had some tech issues tonight, but everything seems to be rolling just fine. Our host appears to be happy right now, so that is a good thing. And that is all we're here to do, is to make you happy and to talk about things that make us happy. And hopefully tech problems being solved makes everybody happy. So it seems like we got a touchdown sign there. That's a good thing.
This is it seems to be working.
Yeah. Well,
so I did this before, though. No, but the first time I went, this seems to be working. So the song worked, but then we couldn't hear you. Now, as far as I know, the song worked, and then now you're working, and now I'm working. and we can all be happy, right? This is all supposed to about being happy.
Yeah. Well, that should be the motto for this country. It seems to be working.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I thought we were supposed to be happy.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? We don't live in a bubble. We're gonna talk about things that make us happy, but I mean, we can't entirely ignore everything that's going on. We're just not gonna be talking about it in detail.
So for the people, okay, I got an all good from Mrs. Fun. So it sounds like the music happened, I happened, and you happened,
now
and
it's
broadcasting, and I appear to be recording. So I guess it's working.
If Mrs. Fun gave you the thumbs up, then we're all
there. You
clear.
go. Carlos is on.
Carlos is on.
Nice.
There he is.
So yeah, I had some technical difficulties, Carlos. Hopefully you haven't been watching the first two horrible attempts. So we're gonna start over. And we're going to zoom through it a little bit, but basically I've been sick all week. After Carlos's episode last week, number 18, I felt good mentally, but physically I wasn't doing well. I was coughing and hacking. And then I lost my voice basically Friday through Sunday. And it was not good. And I'm going to be posting a video of me playing a game here in a day or two. And when I do, you'll hear my hoarse voice, which is about 4 times worse than this on there. Yeah. Finally got over that, so that's good. And then what did we chat about a little bit before the last one?
We were talking about our green shirts.
Yes, we're both wearing green shirts.
Unrelated for some reason.
Carlos says, "Yeah, you're gross." Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I got myself sick somehow. I'm cross-pollinating with myself. Yeah, I got my Ewok eating ramen out of a Stormtrooper helmet shirt. And you have your Mr. Creosote shirt.
Creosote shirt.
Wafer thin mint.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't plan on the green shirts.
No.
But here we are.
Just the next one in the rotation. It's just the way it turned out today. And
sure.
I felt like wearing green.
So yeah, normally we chit chat, which we did.
Yeah.
But you couldn't hear his part of. Well, I got to do this. His part of it. But yeah, basically, we're doing fine. We're gonna jump right into it though this week because it's been 20 minutes of messing with this, and I've had enough. So we want to stay positive.
Yeah.
The point of this podcast: 27 months of living in a nightmare hellscape.
See, we're reminding people.
Yeah. However, to get through that, we're gonna try to focus on things that make us happy, that bring us joy. And we always talk about 3 things that do that for us, and then a 4th that we're looking forward to in the future, whether it's a week from now, a month, a year, whatever. And we're just going to kind of jump right into it because of the technical issues. So, like I normally do you want to go first? Do I want to go first? You already said you would go first. Do you want to stick with that, or do you want to throw it back to me?
I'm going to stick with that, Eric. I'm going to go for the car.
Okay.
Stick with that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure. So, door number 2 is looking really attractive.
No, the bird in the hand. So I was saying before, you might have heard me. The audience certainly didn't hear me, but maybe you did. Some of the things that we talk about here are movies, television, books, whatever, music, whatever it might be that make us happy, but not necessarily things that do remind people of the hellscape that we live in. And that's kind of where my first thing this week kind of leads that, because the thing I'm going to be talking about is certainly with this upcoming thing is a reflection in many ways of the hellscape, but does so in a very entertaining, funny, very bloody way. And of course, I'm talking about the new season of The Boys, which just premiered on Amazon last week. I think the first 3 episodes are currently available on Amazon. Is that correct? Is that
sounds right? We haven't started watching it yet. Season 3.
You haven't? Okay.
But yeah, they release them weekly, right? Or usually the first 2 and then weekly.
Usually, I think Amazon does it either the first 2 or first 3, and then they release it weekly afterwards. Which is when I got to it's not important, but with season 3, I have been given the opportunity to actually see the entire season.
Why?
because I am a film critic and a critic in general, and I have the opportunity to see them. Amazon sends them to me.
Promo button.
Promo button.
And I have to hit promo.
Right. Even though there's no monetary value in that, you still have to hit the promo button.
It's not specifically monetary. It's it says any sort of like not giveaway, but like an endorsement of something.
Yeah.
You've been given something that other people haven't, whether it's money, influence, tickets to something.
Yeah.
Like when we go see the superhero movies, I have to hit the promo button if I were to do that broadcast. Anything that's given to you for free is because in essence I think it's an ethics button, because the FTC gets involved in YouTube and they're saying if you now say, "Oh, The Boys is great," but you don't say that you got to see it for free, technically, ethically, the FTC could say you are endorsing something that you were given for free.
Okay.
And so therefore it is a ethical issue, which it is. So, we don't mind telling people what you're given for free due to your job.
We don't mind this. But I'm just curious that you, of all people, are being held up to a higher ethical standards than some critics out there who get flown around, and don't mention that shit. Okay.
Now, again, the odds of me being looked at by YouTube, there's 80 gajillion people broadcasting and doing things on YouTube. The odds of them finding me is infinitesimally small, right? It's so small, it's ridiculous. However, all it takes is one person, like, whatever, either a person or a corporation or something to catch on, and they find out that you do this, that, and the other. They tell YouTube, and then YouTube shuts my whole channel down because I'm being unethical. Or the FTC, I believe, can even get involved. It may even be slightly illegal because Amazon is paying you by giving you something, and now we are positively talking about it. The Federal Trade Commission can actually turn around and say, wait, so they paid for an endorsement? No, he's a critic. Well, yeah, but they gave him something, and he ended up being positive.
They gave me an in-kind donation.
Because this is, I think, a video format, it changes it, and it makes it like not a commercial, but like...
Right.
So if you've ever watched over the past 10 weeks now that we've been doing this, if you look up at the top left corner at the beginning of these videos where I hit the promo button, it says this is there is promotional this is a video involving promotion or something like that.
Okay.
So it you could say it's horrible and it would be a critique show. The problem is this is all positive, so I
was just about to go there.
You're going to say something good and you were given it for free. So they could turn around and say they bought this, even though we will tell them 9 million times. But by them giving it to you for free doesn't make you say good things. You say good things because it's good. You don't talk about things you don't like. But that's not how it looks. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yes. No. This is we got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but it is the point that this show is all positive. So I'm only going to come on here and talk about things that I do like. If I did not like the new season of The Boys, I would not be talking about it here because this is all positive. I'd be saying negative things about it elsewhere on Twitter and all that kind of stuff because I don't mince words when it comes to shit that I don't like.
We both.
I don't care who gave it to me for free or whatever. That's just not the way it works.
That's called the Screw You podcast. That's the other one we have to do.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it's going to be our Patreon where we talk shit about everything.
That's going to be the Bizarro World version of this podcast.
That's right.
It'll be in the upside down, basically.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But so anyway, so the Boys. So I have had the opportunity to see the entire season 3, and I'm a fan of the show. I enjoy the carnage of it all. I love the subverting of the superheroes, which is maybe not the most original idea. There have been Watchmen and all these other things that have attempted to do this, but this one has sort of a gleeful anarchy about it, and it does reflect a lot of the bullshit that goes on in society. I mean, an entire corporation controlling superheroes and everything they do. And I mean, I tell you, one of the things that, and I'm gonna probably just shift around here because I don't want to spoil too much about the new season. But I'll say, the setup of the show this season is that I think it's a time jump. It's like a year later from where we last left, where everyone's heads exploded in Congress and whatnot, or in the courtroom. And we found out that one politician is actually a soup, and she now is in a position of power. And Jack Quaid is working for him. So Stewie is working for him. I'm not always good with names, but Stewie's working for him. And Butcher's actually now connected with the CIA again, or some task force attached to it. So he's hunting down soups, but he's not killing them as much as he would very much like to. In fact, the show, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't even see the first episode, but the first episode kicks things off in a way, especially with the scene with Butcher early on, in a way that you just kind of go like, oh my God, everything's up for grabs in this season, because they don't give a shit about good taste or pushing the boundaries. There is almost as much dick in this season as there is in Jackass Forever. I mean, it is just in all.
And you don't mean someone being rude.
I mean all manners of the word.
Okay,
all
gotcha.
manners of the word.
Great.
There's dickish behavior. There's dicks. There's rubber dicks and dildos and all kinds of stuff, and they all are used fabulously. I gotta say, in so many respects. You're never gonna look at a dildo the same way again. Trust me. But so that's the basic setup of the stuff. But Stewie discovers who the politician actually is. Part of her past comes to light, and he realizes that he can't. He probably shouldn't be working for her. He kind of tries to steer away from it, and it strains his relationship a little with Starlight, because he's still kind of got that guy thing going for him, where he wants to be the one that's able to save her every once in a while, and that's a sort of a big thing that's going on through the season. And she keeps assuring him, like, you don't have to be that guy, and it's something that keeps her appearing. And also there's the introduction of a new temporary
squad team. It's not a team? Do they just introduce one person that I've seen in costume?
I think there is a team. Yes, there is a team. There's a storyline involving a earlier team. We'll just say an earlier 7. Okay, which is a huge part of the season. But there's an experimental V that is introduced into the season. Not just the V that creates the soups, but this new experimental V that then gets sampled many times throughout the show, and so that creates a whole other dynamic as well. Meanwhile, you have Homelander, who is just off the rails. He's at the point where he realizes that his ratings are down, his approval numbers are down because
right.
of the whole Nazi thing that happened last season.
That's what happens when you it should happen when you hang out with Nazis and be their boyfriend.
Yeah,
you would think that's what would happen to you, is your likes and thumbs up would go down. Yeah. Unfortunately, in the real world, that doesn't always happen.
Right. So that's the thing that's happening early on. But then when he sort of turns the corner and he becomes more or less an outspoken former president, we'll just say, he becomes that guy where everyone starts then looking up like, oh, this is the guy that's not going to be politically correct. This is the guy that's going to lead us some way. They kind of do it with one particular character, not strong, but you see the sort of the reaction with like this sort of one guy's face is just like, oh, this is my guy now kind of thing. And the connection that he has with Butcher's team comes into play a little bit. But so you have this downward spiral, you would think, of going on, what's going on. And that's all I was kind of expecting out of the season, that Homelander was going to take his bullshit to a new level. And what could these guys possibly do about it? Well, they have something that they believe can be done about it. They believe there's a weapon that can be used against him, and it becomes the search and the hunt to capture this weapon and use it against Homelander, and I think that'll be the thing that'll finally kill him. So you have all that stuff going on. It's an 8-episode arc, and there are a lot. I think that there is. I think the sixth episode, which I'm not going to even hint at.
No hints, no nothing.
Here. No, nothing. I think episode 6 of this season is the best episode they've ever done.
Wow, good.
It's hilarious. It is bloody. It is exciting. I mean, there is action on the show, but it's not. I shouldn't say that. I mean, there's enough action on the show to keep one entertained if that's what you're looking for. But they kind of took it to a new level in episode 6, and everything about that episode, even right up to the very final moment where you go like, oh shit, just got real, in a new kind of interesting way, is so much fun. And if you find out the title of episode 6, you might get an idea of where it's part of it is going to.
Okay.
So avoid the title of episode 6 if you can, because if you just go into it fresh and don't know what that is you might not know what it is. But when you find out what it is in episode 6, it's so funny, so well done. I will say that I think that the full arc of the season, maybe I shouldn't even say that. I won't say that too much. I'll say that for another time when you catch up to the show.
Okay.
People are able to catch up to the show, because I don't want to. I don't know how much.
Sure.
I mean, reviews are out there. It's not like I can't talk about it, but
it's still fresh, so you don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
right.
we still have 4 or 5 weeks left before.
Yeah, I wasn't going to spoil anything big.
Yeah.
I think that I'll just say this. I think the season kind of comes full circle, in a way, literally.
Okay.
I think. But I just watched it in like 4 nights. Watched like 2 episodes a night. And it's consistently entertaining. It's still very funny. And yeah, I mean, just the devil may care attitude that the series has. I don't know how it lines up with the comics. That's not me. I don't know how what kind of changes they made. There are some really fun cameos in the show this season. I want to say, Paul Reiser shows up midway through the season. Paul Reiser shows up and is the funniest thing he's done in a long time. He kind of plays, I would kind of describe him as kind of a Robert Evans type producer kind of guy. He's a guy that was like really kind of big in the Hollywood days, and now he's just the lesser, but like everything he says is funny in the show, and he's only in a couple of the episodes, but he's really good. And there's another cameo that is pretty amusing.
Well, speaking of things, Mrs. Fun is a huge Supernatural fan, and so Eccles, he plays at the Captain America stand-in for the original 7 or the other 7. Yeah, Soldier Boy. And she was just curious, without spoiling anything, did you think he did well?
I think it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know who it was when I heard the name. I knew where he was from, but I never watched that show, so I was not really familiar with his previous work. But he embodies that character, I think, exactly the way they wanted. He's kind of a pre-Homelander, maybe not quite as dickish, but more than dickish enough to where he rubbed enough people the wrong way.
Well, I saw they did a promo, so I'm not ruining anything. I think it was even on like Facebook or whatever, YouTube. They're showing little clips. Yeah, and it was more like an ad, and it's him doing like not a public service message, but like being interviewed or something. And and he's like he doesn't have his coffee yet or something, and he's just getting more and more aggravated, like with the questions and his answers or the way he's coming off or whatever. And remember when Cap did the PSA in Spider-Man, he spins the chair around, hey, kids, Chris Evans does the, you should do this. And it's all very, yay, super, raw, do what the country asks and all this stuff. Yeah. Well, the promo they're showing for Eccles as Soldier Boy, he's just getting more and more pissed through this interview. It's like a 30-second thing. And he's just like, I don't know, I didn't like the way you asked that question. Did I get my effing coffee? What the fuck? And he's like getting angry and stuff, but they're like showing it. It's like totally the opposite, as you can tell just from that. I mean, like I said before, The Boys is great. They've changed enough things where it's kind of its own thing. So they'll bring characters in like Soldier Boy. It's some stuff has been changed, significant stuff. People have said, well, it's better that they did because the comic, that wouldn't fly in the comic now. But then again, in the first episode, they had, the underwater guy and Starlight. But the stuff happened to her. They seem to be okay with that. But, they're not okay with this other stuff. And so they're cutting what they feel they want. They're adding what they feel they need. I kind of liked what they did with the relationship between Homelander and it's not. I was gonna say Zeitgeist. It's not the right word. Stormfront. Well, her character was male in the comic, and obviously, in this particular case, the two of them weren't like that. So I found season 2 interesting on its own level because I knew the difference, but some of the beats were in there of the things I knew.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what they want to do now with these things. It is what it is. But they seem to be doing it well. I've enjoyed it so far, and I'm really looking forward to 3.
Yeah, so there's some really funny stuff with the Deep this season too. There's he's become sort of a henpecked husband a bit, and being kind of controlled by the woman that he met last season, kind of rescued him, so to speak, from the cult.
That's right. She wasn't from the cult.
Right.
I thought it was they were playing on the sort of Scientology relationship thing, but that he got out of the cult.
Right.
That's
but
right.
she's still kind of.
Was she in the cult too? I can't remember.
I thought she was. I didn't go back and watch season 2, so I don't remember, or if she was just a groupie or like a fan of his that
right.
kind of responded to him. But she that's sort of her role in this season, and I'll just say that the Deep, all the stuff they say about Aquaman comes true.
I can imagine.
Season. Yeah, in a couple great ways, like really funny.
Well, it's rare. You can take someone like the guy who wrote that, invented the comic, owns it. And so, in a roundabout way, they're doing his stuff. So I'm assuming he's part of that contract.
Yeah.
Is guy named Garth Ennis.
Right.
He's a British writer, and he's done Judge Dredd and 2000 AD and Punisher stories for Marvel and a bunch of war comics, not superhero-y war comics, but like, stuff about like fighter pilots and, in certain invasions and stuff. And his stuff is always very wild. And so, like I've always said, like, again, if they can do it, they can do it. So without spoiling it, just to get people even more excited, I've often referenced a particular couple issues around this time in the comic book called Herogasm, where a bunch of these heroes and stuff show up to this sort of Lollapalooza / what's the sex one everybody goes to? I said
Burning Man.
No, hedonism. Everyone once a year goes to hedonism to do the /.0 thing. Like, it's sort of a mix of those two. And did they go as far as you think I would think they would go?
Herogasm is the name of episode 6.
No, there you go. Okay, problem solved. Yes. Yeah. If you're looking forward to anything, it's building towards something pretty crazy. So that's
good. You get exactly what you want.
Yeah, awesome.
In that episode.
It's crazy for crazy sake.
A lot of people get exactly what they want in that episode.
I can only imagine.
My
number 1 is television related, and feeds into getting what you want, and in a weird way, features Paul Reiser. My number 1 this week is going to be Stranger Things. So, like I said on, to people that I finally told, like, yeah, I'm starting season 1 finally, or we are. This is fun tonight. Yeah. I'm like, we're going to start it this week. And, like, everybody universally was like, oh, my God, you got all kinds of time. Oh, my God, you're going to be on the couch forever. Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And that's the thing is, I always assumed I was going to like it. It was never an issue where I thought I wasn't.
Yeah.
Based on what everybody was saying, based on, we're pretty similar We're pretty similar when it comes to stuff we like for the most part,
Yeah.
So I knew going into it we were going to like it. She also likes spooky horror stuff, and so we like mystery stuff, your Fringes of the world, your Losts of the world,
Yeah.
your, those kinds of things. And man, it didn't disappoint. I think we're 3/4 of the way through season 2.
Okay.
Half or 3/4, because Paul Reiser is, obviously in season 2. So, yeah, it lived up to everything everybody ever said it was going to be. Season 1 was great. The kids are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All the kids are great.
Yeah.
The Will is the one that goes to the Upside Down, and
right.
you don't really obviously see him much. And poor Barb, she gets one episode. And
you're on the Barb train too.
Yeah,
that was a big thing about season 1, is that everyone was pissed about what happened to Barb.
Yeah, she gets one episode. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, technically 2, but really 1.
Yeah.
So you don't really get much out of them in that first season. But the kids are great. Hop's great in it. We liked him as Red Guardian in
Black Widow.
Yeah. And now I finally got to see him in the show that made him popular. I didn't see the new Hellboy, and there was really no reason to, but from what I hear. But this is the one that really made him famous, and he didn't disappoint. He's really good. And the person I really gravitated towards, because I liked her way back when, not just liked her, had a crush on her, but like genuinely liked her. I thought she was a good actress and interesting, and the movies she picked were always kind of different and weird and strange, and so you wanted to see what she was doing. But Winona Ryder, she's great in this. Yeah. She's absolutely fantastic, and she's a little bit older, so she's playing a mom, and she doesn't have to be the kid and all cheery-eyed or whatever. She's not playing that anymore. She's playing a mother who's lost her kid, and you feel every second of it. And when she's hanging the lights in the house, and especially when she goes in the little cubby in the wall, and the set of lights that she hasn't unbundled yet, and it's just a ball of lights. And she's sitting in there, and she's talking, and the lights are responding to her, yes or no, 1 or 2. And she's crying, and she's telling you, when everybody's confronting her, she's yelling at them, about I lost my boy. She has to yell, like, don't you get it? She's great. Show's really good so far. We've been enjoying it very much.
It makes me happy. It's not that I didn't think you wouldn't enjoy it, because when you set up a show like that, and again, nostalgia has become this weird dirty word over time, because it becomes this fallback thing that that the generation our generation that grew up with all these fantasy shows and whatnot, and now is kind of transitioned into the latter day Star Wars and all the Marvel and comic book stuff and whatnot, that it's such an easy fallback that you don't have to craft a brand new narrative, as long as you can throw a couple in jokes from 20 years ago and bring back a character, something like that. But when you introduce a show as basically Steven Spielberg meets Stephen King,
that should be easy. Like, okay, I'll watch.
That's exactly what I grew up with. That's exactly what we grew up with in the 80s, and all the iterations of those two artists. And it's just, you haven't even gotten to season 3 yet, which I think is its best season.
Have you watched 4 yet? Any of 4?
Well, funny enough, my number 2 was going to be Stranger Things, but I'm going to springboard off of you and continue with season 4 again, without doing a whole lot of spoilers and whatnot. But no, season 3 builds up to this crescendo that is just fantastic, and there's a lot of that stuff throughout the series. That there's a lot of setup, there's a lot of characters, and they keep bringing in more characters, so there's going to be a lot more for you to work with, especially when you get to season 3. They introduce a character played by Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter, who is just kind of, I shouldn't say steal, because everyone's so good on the show, it's kind of hard to steal it, but she's such a standout in season 3, and the arc of her character is really wonderful.
That's not the redhead in 2.
No,
The skateboard girl.
That's Max.
Right.
Right, and Max has just if I mean, you can continue to talk about this. We'll just consider this your 1 and my 2.
Yeah, that's
right
fine.
now.
Well, I'll just go. I'll go on in the sense because you mentioned the '80s stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember what movie we just saw. I got to see with you. Which one?
Ghostbusters?
Yes. Because we were specifically we were sitting in the theater with your colleagues, and I think at the end, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a lot of, it's a lot of pandering."
You're right.
And not everybody said it. Some people said, "Yeah."
It was the word of the day.
Yeah.
When it came to the movie, not so much that room, but that was what was permeating out there in the ether.
And I shouldn't say everybody. A couple people were pretty explicit as we walked out. They were like, "That was just pandering." A lot of people were in the middle or more on our side, which was we really enjoyed it. And yes, there's pandering, but this movie can stand on its own. A lot more people were on that side, at least in the room we were in. But I made a comment that day, and I think it still sticks. And it's only pandering if you don't do it well. Like, if you have a garbage movie and you're just like, hey, listen to this Duran Duran song. Like, yeah, okay, your movie's garbage, and you're going to try to make me feel something with,
right.
You're going to hit me in the feels in the hopes that I say this movie's good. If you took all the 80s references out of this and you placed it into the modern day setting and fixed the analogs, right? They're not at an arcade, they're at a whatever. They're not at this, they're at whatever, right? It still works. And so it doesn't matter that there's a bunch of cool 80s music. It doesn't matter that they go to the arcade and play Dig Dug. It doesn't matter that the guy drives a totally awesome midnight blue Z28 Camaro from the late 70s, because I love that car. So it pulls up, I'm like, see, that's a badass car. And when Mrs. Fun and I are sitting there, I'm like, man, this is my childhood. But it's not because the show is bad.
Right.
It's only pandering if you don't do it well. That was my thing. Like, this just does it well. And on the added note is I get a little of the feels with it. The Atari, there was a toy they were playing with, and then there was the big giant walkie-talkies, and all the cars, the movies, Terminator trailer, the Terminator at the theater, and
in season 2 where they dress up, they're Ghostbusters.
Right. So, like, it's okay though, because all the rest of it is really good.
Yeah, they have a story, they have a narrative, and they have characters.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's those characters. The everything else is just periphery. It's just it's sauce that's sprinkled in there. This is the world that they live in, so we're going to sprinkle in an Easter egg here, an Easter egg here, and they have some fun with it. But it's also not just like, hey, look at this Atari, hey, look at this movie they're seeing. The influences that they wear on their sleeves, that each season kind of represents, and influences of horror movies and Stephen King and Spielberg, okay, they're all in there, and it's all collectively wonderfully mishmashed in a way that you care about the characters, and I mean, you care about the outcome, you care about the evil that they're fighting and whatnot, and they have over time, and you'll continue to see this, that they have made characters stronger as they go along. A couple maybe a little bit weaker than season 4, but mostly they keep bringing characters stronger. Like the character that I think he's very marginally in season 1, the character that Brett Gelman plays, the conspiracy.
Second season.
Yeah, Murray.
Yeah.
He is, by season 4, he is a full-on character. Like, him and Joyce are having an adventure in season 4 that's incredibly entertaining.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and that's everything that the show has become. Like I kind of caught up with season 2. Like I didn't see it when it first came out, and then I kind of caught up with it. I kind of like, oh, maybe I don't know if I don't want to go back into this world. Right? It seems to happen every season. to me. I'm like, oh, I'm curious to see where this goes, but I don't get juiced up for it sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm cool. This is back. I'm gonna watch it, and every season sucks me in different ways. It's
just good.
Yeah. And season 4 is really no exception. Season 4 is no exception, and it's almost pointless. I mean, I still think season 3 I think is the best, and I think 1, 2, and 4 you can juggle up any order you want and probably wouldn't be wrong. But again, they expand upon some of the characters in season 4. There's a lot of it because of the way season 3. I know you don't want to spoil too much, but there are a lot of people in different places when season 4 begins, and people are separated, and so there's a lot of you waiting for you to get some of these characters back together where you like to see them. So it takes a little while to sort of rev up early on.
But if there's an interesting story that uses that separation to its advantage, then it can be just as interesting. And not only that, but sometimes you need an episode or two of lull, or not lull, that's probably not a good word, but like calm. It's a calm before the storm.
Yeah.
Because when you look at Endgame, and again, there are other movies that do this, but Endgame's special to me is, you open those portals and boom, everybody shows up. Not in a physical sense, but even in a story sense, right?
Yeah.
Everybody shows up. Boom. Like there's your shot of adrenaline. Like, whoa, this is what you need a little bit of that lull to make that even more exciting than it already is.
Yeah.
The preview for season 4 is, again, unless people are not watching any media, the preview for season 4 is very red, very out there. Like they're clearly not all standing in their living room on Earth anymore. And so, I mean, it's pretty obvious the things I'm seeing now in season 2, the forthcoming storm or whatever you want to call it, probably leads into stuff that's happening in 4. But even something as simple as, a mutual friend of ours, I didn't know this was happening, but the vinyl, the Funko Pops. They did a series of Dungeons and Dragons ones.
Okay.
And with the little pop, you got a little 20-sided die. This is cute little add-on for, you're going to play D&D. Here's a die, and you get your little D&D character.
Yeah.
There's some characters, they call them either modules or stories. I think they called them modules back in the day. But this mutual friend of ours and that's one of the ways we initially met, was we started playing D&D sort of in a mutual group right after we met.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the very first modules, one of the things I distinctly remember playing, and I've been saying the name for all these years, it was you were going into a dungeon, you were working your way towards a dungeon to go and get the Hand of Vecna. And it was a demigod, and he had a hand, and the idea was once you got it, you gained some of the power. And it's called the Hand of Vecna. And it was one of we had done it. And so I always joked, like, because we stopped playing fairly soon after that. So whenever I would, someone would be like, oh, D&D, I'm like, oh, you and I played a couple times. Remember that? We went to get the Hand of Vecna, because I always thought it was silly. And he's in season 4. This character's just showing up. And it just so happens I had bought the little pop, not the Stranger Things Vecna pop with the die, but the Dungeons and Dragons Vecna that they reference in the module with the die. I had just gotten it for him and his daughter because she may start playing Dungeons and Dragons. And he's like, oh, I just got her a set of die. You get all, the one, the
right.
2, the 4, everything. And he's like, that'd be cool. I think she'd really like that. So I grabbed it for him. And then like a day later, it got not spoiled. It's in the preview. It's in the trailer.
Right.
Vecna's standing there. So I just, it's fun that they're referencing all the things. And our friend Colin, when I said I'm going to do this, he's like, you got to watch their acceptance speech.
Yeah.
So right after season 1, before we started watching season 2, we watched the acceptance speech again. And, although, of course, I'm focusing on Winona Ryder because she's Winona Ryder. Uh-huh. And she's being silly as usual and making all her faces. But you're listening to, you're listening to Hopper just smash it, man. Grand slam that thing out of there, fighting for all the people and the the geeks and the dorks and the people who are the other, and and to quote my character, and if someone tries to stop you, you got to punch him in the face or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this is a show about underdogs. It's a show about the geek. It's a show about all these things that seem to be popular now. Yeah, you wanted to go to the arcade. You wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons in your basement with your friends. You wanted to, ride around on your bikes and play out in the forest and play, do the things, have their little forts and be in their little clubs. Those weren't always the most popular things when we were kids. Now, to be sort of the other, or to be the quote unquote not accepted, or the less quote normal person, is as hard as it can be. Clearly, it is. Once you find even one more person now, you've entered this group of all these great people who want to accept you. Oh, you're a Dungeons and Dragons person? Here's 14 people I know that want to play. Oh, you play video games? Here's all these games we play together. Well, let's get online. Here's it wasn't that easy when we were kids, and this kind of shows these four kids. There's a little insular Dungeons and Dragons group getting introduced to the wider world, and in this case, the upside down world as well. Like these things that are scary. It's just good. It's just damn good.
Yeah. And just to go a little further into season 4 to talk about it, and you might have to maybe nudge the promo button a little bit. I don't know if you have to.
Did you get this too?
Push. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what happened with it is that I did get it. Okay, Netflix did send me the season. They spread out. Like they gave me 4 episodes, then they gave me like 2 more, and then they gave me a 7th one. So it was like it's spread out over a week. Problem is that when they were sending it, I was producing a film festival, so I didn't get a chance to watch them. So I ended up like the week after the film festival, or the weekend after the film festival, I watched the first episode, and I'm like, okay, that's good. But then I had some other things I had to do. And I didn't the week just went by while I had 2 weeks of movies to watch for my podcast. So I was playing catch up on all that. And then I had to go to the theater and catch up on other things. So I didn't get, funny enough, I didn't get to Stranger Things on just about until the premiere, the day of the premiere.
Oh.
Okay. So what happened during that day was, I ended up Morgan Geyer, who you've had on the show and does the podcast with me, Friendship Dilemma. We were kind of watching it at different times. So like she like blasted ahead on Friday. She got to like the 3rd episode, and I was still like stuck on the 2nd episode. And then somehow I passed her, and I got through that. And then by like the 5th or 6th episode, we got in sync and ended up watching the whole series until about midnight that Friday night. And the elements about the season 4, again, you've seen the preview. I'm not going to spoil any of the surprises and whatnot, but you've probably heard by now that there's an episode there's 2 episodes actually that played this song.
Yes.
That has now turned into something huge. And this is the sort of the part of the springboard I'm going to use as my number 2 with Stranger Things. It's Stranger Things / this. And the idea that a show like that, you talk about all these nostalgia and all these things, and maybe Dungeons and Dragons is going to come back in a big way and whatnot. But every once in a while, you get something that just strikes a chord in people, no pun intended. And this song by Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill, which is a song that, funny enough, I played a lot during the hellscape that we were in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just by some weird chance. Because I'll tell you something, because all these people now are like, just like, oh, people are finally discovering Kate Bush. a little too, I guess, better late than never kind of stuff. I'm like, well, some of these people weren't even born yet. When
I was just going to say, she was very popular.
Right.
She's not Pearl Jam popular, but she was popular.
Exactly.
People knew who Kate Bush was.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I knew who Kate Bush was back in the day without necessarily being like a super fan.
Sure.
Okay, and the reason I knew of Kate Bush was because of two things. One was this song, "Running Up That Hill," and it's one of the songs that I credit going to carnivals with, because I
Like
can't,
playing over the speakers when you go on the rides?
yes.
Okay,
For
gotcha.
some reason, this song seemed to always be playing
Sure.
at the carnivals. Specifically, there was a carnival that used to be at, you remember the old Jewel
Yeah.
on the Heights, and they used to have a carnival.
The
in
Rotary.
back lot there.
It was the old Rotary.
thing.
Yep.
It was that when they did it there, it was fantastic. That carnival, that stretch that they did there is fantastic. And for some reason, I heard that song all the time. Specifically, why I don't know. Anytime I rode the ride, the Hurricane, the Hurricane ride that does that. For some reason, I always heard it on that song. I don't know. I just the one Hurricane guy's traveling all over playing that song, and
Big Kate Bush fan.
Big Kate Bush fan for some reason, and that song always stuck in my head. And I heard it, I think, on the radio one day while I was driving, picking up groceries or something during the crap period, and I just listened to it a lot. And here in this show, the character of Max, who's going through some stuff in season 4, like it's like one of her first days in high school, I think, and she's just walking down the hall with her headphones on, listening to the song, and it's the only soundtrack you hear is just that song, and you just see the images of her feeling like she's out of place and she doesn't know what this world is, and just she's using this song to escape into, to just sort of drown out the noise and everything. And then that song comes back in a huge way later in the season, and again, Colin said it, and I will just agree with what he said. It's one of the best sequences this show has ever done. And it's just it's incredible. And the fact now that this song, it like became like #1 on iTunes after the premiere of the show last week, and now Kate Bush has even commented how much she enjoys the show and stuff. I mean, I don't think, and
I saw her tweet. Their tweet about it.
Did she tweet something about it?
I think she tweeted something about it, or someone quoted her from an interview in a tweet, but it was her like acknowledging it, and then it's being broadcast.
Yeah, and maybe someone could come up with, maybe you have another one. But the last time I remember any kind of media, movie, television, whatever, provoking this kind of reaction to where something charts again was Bohemian Rhapsody with Wayne's World back in '92, where that movie, just pushed that song back into the spotlight, and it became a chart-topping hit again.
When you say again, there are times when shows will do it to relatively current songs. Both of them, the two I'm immediately thinking of are South Park. The Lady Gaga song that Cartman sings.
Poker Face.
Poker Face. And then when they sing the every time I start it, I got to finish it, and blah, 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 and they rip through it. It's a 80s rock song.
Come Sail Away.
Yeah, Come Sail Away.
Yeah.
That's another one that went huge, and people were, oh my God, I love that song and everything. Yeah. And then I don't think it was a movie, but I think a movie mentioned Toto, Africa.
Well, Africa's.
And then that became huge because then everybody started covering it, and the TV shows were doing it in the late night. The only three, and again, the Toto Africa one isn't as movie or TV related as I think, other than talk shows doing it.
Yeah.
But the other two are South Park is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, the Come Sail Away is a good. I mean, Poker Face was that was sort of in the moment, and they were sort of capitalizing on that. The Come Sail Away thing, if that did chart again, that was obviously a song from back in the day. That then, so yeah. But the other Kate Bush, can you think of the other Kate Bush featured in a movie that I'm thinking of?
In a movie?
Yeah, where I think like even when I heard Running Up That Hill all that time, I mean, we didn't have the internet, so I didn't, you'd be lucky if to listen to the radio, and that was Kate Bush with Running Up That Hill. You didn't hear that on the Hurricane. They weren't, the Carney wasn't giving me the chart toppers at that time, so I don't think I knew who Kate Bush was until a few years later when I could connect the dots. and it was this movie that used one of her songs very beautifully. That all of a sudden I'm like, who sings that song? And I look at the credits, Kate Bush, and then discovered she sung "Running Up That Hill."
I couldn't think of the movie. If I had to, for the life of me. But for whatever reason, when you said, like, can you think of something with the song? And it made me think of Dawson's Creek theme, but that's Paula Cole.
That's Paula Cole.
I don't want to. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I don't want to wait for my life to be over.
Carlos says he's going to probably watch it this weekend. Season 4 of
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what's the movie? What's the other song?
She's having a baby.
Oh, wow.
At the very end of the movie where
yes.
they're not sure what's going on, this woman's work, I think is the name.
That's another good scene, though.
Oh, it's an incredible
That's
scene.
A great scene.
Yeah, incredible scene where you don't know what's going on with the pregnancy, and they're flashing back through their relationship.
Yeah, not a great scene, but you know what I mean.
Well, yes, of
course. Right.
It's fantastic.
What a great theme.
No. Yeah, no. But again, it's a great match of song and situation in the same way that Stranger Things has now used "Running Up That Hill." So like these two great moments. I mean, again, sometimes you just, they're bigger Kate Bush fans over time than you or I probably. But I've heard, I've gone back and listened the last couple of years. I went back and would seek out Kate Bush song, like because I know I've heard her stuff before, but I'm like, where did I? I'm like, oh, I know this song. Oh, I don't. This is a good song. I don't know this one. So, but it's remarkable how something like that can happen, and you just have a show like this that is just out there in the zeitgeist, and I hope people keep talking about her. They keep talking about this show, and I do have to give Morgan credit on something. Because she calls a twist in the show in season 4 that
So now we're going to continue from where we left off, which we did a little 10-second replay of the ending of the last one, which was we were still talking about Stranger Things and how much we love it. And we were talking about mostly we were kind of veering off to your number, what would be your number 2, which was season 4. And you mentioned that Morgan, someone who's been on here and is a friend, she guessed potentially one of the twists, major twists of season 4.
Yes, there's a twist that occurs. I'm not going to say where in season 4 that I initially poo-pooed. Maybe not even so strongly. I wasn't connecting where that was coming from, and I should. It should have come to me because I was thinking more logical, more than Stranger Things logic kind of stuff. And in Stranger Things logic, it makes complete sense. And just I should have seen it coming, but she called it, and all props to her for getting it. And it sets up the final 2 episodes that are going to air on July 1st pretty well. So I don't know if the Kate Bush song is going to make an appearance in those final 2 episodes. There'll probably be outrage if there isn't a Kate Bush song at this point, given how popular she is. And we were talking about her and how "Run Up the Hill" is now a chart topper. And then we're also I found that she did that song Peter Gabriel, "Don't Look Up."
It was a fantastic song.
Yeah, an incredible song, and her vocals on that. "Don't Give Up" and "Don't Look Up" is a stupid Adam McKay.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, "Don't Give Up." Well, just people are out there calling me an idiot right now, and I can't have that. So yeah, "Don't Give Up," the Peter Gabriel song. Just like everything she gets in makes better. She's got some avant-garde stuff, so you're going to go down a rabbit hole if you start looking at Kate Bush videos on YouTube. They're not all like the popular songs, but there's a reason why she has a fan base. So, but no, Stranger Things season 4, you're really going to enjoy it. It's it sends everyone off in different adventures and stuff, and most of it works.
Well, in the last 2 days, because this is now Friday, we normally do it Wednesday night. So after cut off, I literally just got done watching episode 6 of season 2, I think.
Okay.
Excuse me. The one where they lead what they think is a young Demogorgon to the old car lot with the bus with the meat, and then it's the night, and yeah, that's literally we just all hood. Good. All good. Okay, good. She's saying we're all good. She's double checking for me. Okay. Thank you. But yeah, again, even that episode was great because Steve's hanging out with him, and and then they bring Max there, and the little talk on the top of the bus. It's great, and you can another thing I noticed tonight, which I would not have said the other night. Well, I can't say that. I probably would have said it had I thought of it, but tonight specifically, I've noticed now looking back, they do homages and they do references that aren't so pandery and in your face. Like this episode is clearly the aliens to the first season's Alien.
Without question.
But it's not super in your face. Yes, there's for people like you and me and other people who obviously, it's even that it's not smacking you in the face, but it is obvious, I guess, is my point. Yeah. It's not a 10 on that scale. It's like a 6.5 or 7. So you and I notice the blips, the guys going down, the cameras on them, so they go into scratch when they get killed, and the tunnels that look like they, all like it's aliens, and now all of a sudden there's plural. It's not one, and so it's more actiony, that part than it's every little bit is all these little weird alien references. The Ghostbusters one is obviously more in your face. They're dressed like them. They make their own little packs, but like this episode is the tunnel scene from Aliens. Yeah, it's great that it's not so Yeah, I know. Well, see. Carlos says everyone should like this video. It helps with the algorithm. Well, definitely, if you're watching, you should do that. I said that on Wednesday. I'm just glad it's working, Carlos. Thank you, though. Yeah, but yes, if you're watching this or listening on iTunes, like I do know, because this is all gonna get. Well, they won't get cut out now, but it'll be on the iTunes version of this, Carlos, and the video once I edit this together. But it's just good. It's really good. The next episode, I start it, and then the first 2 seconds I pause it, and then back out if we're not going to watch it. Mm-hmm. So the next one was called the Other Sister or something like that. Okay. And and they show the sister that was babysitting Eleven's mom. And so for like a half a second, I saw that, and then I got rid of it. So again, I'm anxiously awaiting to see the rest of it. It's going to be a fun ride. Yeah, I can tell already.
When you get to season 3 is like all like that, and I like that's the addition of Maya Hawke to the cast is really fantastic, and the way that season 3 ends, like it's such a high. It's all amping up. It's the beginning of the roller coaster. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And they definitely lean into horror. Season 4 definitely leans into a lot more horrific stuff as well. Sergio says, "Okay, let's try this again." Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that was season 4 was my number 2, which was coming right off of your number 1, which was Stranger Things season 1 and 2. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm in the middle still of 2, but yeah, I can't praise it enough so far. Which again, like I said, I knew I was going to like it, but it hasn't disappointed in the least, which is great. Because nothing worse than anxiously, anticipating something and have it be horrible. Yeah. In this case, it's great. So good. Does it have enough giants in it for you though? No, it's interesting. That's a little inside joke, folks. I probably will not be talking about Game of Thrones anytime soon on here, but I don't think anyone is talking about Game of Thrones anymore. No. Even though I defend a lot of the final season, but who knows? Maybe we'll like the prequel. Yeah, if things don't work out the way people want it to, all of a sudden it's bad. That's the pattern people have gotten into. We should do. We should again. What was the podcast I thought of?
Go screw yourself. That'll be the one we can play. Yeah, go screw yourself, and it'll be us. One episode will just be all of us talking about how season finales or ends of series finales that we liked, and not because we understood them and other people didn't, but that we appreciated them for what they were trying to do. Even if they didn't hit 100, they only hit 90, but people called them 10 because they didn't get what they wanted.
Right. Episode 1 lost.
Yeah.
Episode 2, I don't know.
We could do a whole show just on a bunch of those shows. So yeah. Technically, you did your number 1. I did my number 1. You did your number 2, which was season 4.
Yes.
I'll do my number 2 now. I haven't gotten to play it again. Excuse me. In the last week or so, I've just been too busy. I'm hoping to do a little bit this weekend. But there's speaking of demons, or supernatural stuff. And speaking of, hold on a second. Cross your fingers that it continues to work. Demons and otherworldly stuff and everything. You're obviously familiar with the old Atari video game Gauntlet, right?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Anytime, you had more than one friend, especially 4 together, or 3, you would play. You saw it in an arcade, and boom, you'd play Gauntlet. Before you had the 4-player Turtles game, or the 4-player Simpson game, or the 6-player X-Men game. The first real big multiplayer game in an arcade was Gauntlet.
I'm pretty sure
Smash TV was another one.
I know this for a fact because I played Gauntlet at that Jewel amusement park, the Rotary Fest at the Jewel, and I can't say whether Kate Bush was playing at the time that I was playing
Sure.
Gauntlet, but the Venn diagram it's very possible.
I distinctly have memories of playing this and the original stand-up Super Knockout Nintendo at Great America. They had the arcade across from what used to be the what was the Tidal Wave?
Tidal Wave.
It wasn't called the Tidal Wave, was it?
Well, the Tidal one that just shoots out and goes in the loop.
It goes up, a loop, and then back, and then back. Was it called the Tidal Wave?
Well,
but
there was an arcade by the Tidal Wave?
across that little, because now it's the Batman ride, and it was across from the Batman, directly across from the entrance to Batman. Used to be an arcade. Because I wasn't a big remember.
You weren't around a big.
I was not a big roller coaster person, so I would always go to the arcade.
That particular arcade though, because I know the one that continues to exist over there by the American Eagle.
That's like the old timey arcade though.
That's the big, that's the big one. Yeah, no, I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this was an actual arcade. It was a smaller room, and it just had arcade machines. But anyway, I have distinct memories of that. And you're not familiar with this video game series, but it's called Diablo, and our mutual friend tried. It was one of the games for gold one month. We tried to get you to play a game called, it was like Vran something or another, like you're a vampire hunter or whatever. In essence, it's a 3/4 view, isometric view of an area, but it's open world. Remember how Gauntlet was split up into levels? Floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. And you worked your way up to level 99. Mm-hmm. You started at the corner and you worked your way you had to find the exit. This is way more open world. And so basically you start and it's a giant open map and you work your way through a cemetery, work your way through this. And the whole idea is you're there to free the land of the demon invasion and this, that, and the other. But you can play, I want to say 4 players is the largest, maybe 3 used to be. And it's not just I'm the wizard, I'm the barbarian, I'm the elf. There's these great classes you can be. Obviously there's your standard wizard and there's more fighting people, but the idea is you're not just the character and you're that same character all the way through. You have a progressive RPG system built into it, and you're not just worried about I'm going from this level to the exit and going to the next floor. You've never, as far as I know, you've never played it. We got you to play that Vran game for like one night. But Diablo has a history of being, the best of these kinds of games. And in this past week, something that I truly enjoyed starting has now turned into a bit of a nightmare. I'll kind of get into a little bit. But a few years ago, they announced that before Diablo 4 was going to come out, they were going to come out with a mobile game that you could play on your phone, and people were very disappointed because these Diablo fans are diehard fans. Like, they love it, and they're going to tell you how much they hate things. They're going to tell you how much they love things. They're very passionate. And they were expecting an announcement for Diablo 4, and they got something called Diablo Immortal. Hey, you can play on your phone. And people immediately dumped on it. Hey, this is the worst conference ever. I hate this. Why didn't I get my 4 that I wanted? Mm-hmm. Well, now it finally came out. It came out last week for phones. And their big surprise is that they know people are going to figure out ways to emulate the phone game and play it on their PC.
Okay.
And so they just we just built a PC version because we know you people are going to do this anyway, and it's not going to be the experience you really want. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a PC version, make it cross-play and cross-save. It's a lot of doing that now in video games. Used to be isolated. If you're on Xbox, you're on Xbox. You're PlayStation, PC, and now phones are big. So you could be like at work and I want to play on lunch. You pull out your phone, you play a little couple, you level up 1 or 2 times, or you go to the cemetery and you battle a couple bosses. You save, you're done. You come home, you fire it up on your PC, it immediately pulls your save down, and now you're playing on your PC the game you were just playing at lunch on your phone. Better graphics, nicer computer, running better. And so they just said, hey, we're surprising everybody. This is what we're going to do. And people are like, okay, at least I get a new Diablo game on my PC. I streamed it. I just released the video of me streaming it with a friend the other night. That's on this channel if you want to watch it. And it was the first hour and a half of starting a character, picking your character, loading them up with the skills and stuff you wanted, beginning the game, and then grouping up with this person and adventuring together. Kind of like a really cool, way more dynamic, way more interesting, a lot more levels of skill and picking how your character wants to be than a Gauntlet, but it has the same vibes. You're together and you're adventuring through dungeons and doing stuff, and it's I liked Diablo 3, which was the game previous to this. It was on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and so it's like, this is kind of neat. Maybe at lunch I could pull my phone out and give it a go. We played on PC. We had a good time. Looks really good. Looks fun. We had a good time playing it. We want to stay positive, so I'm not going to say too much into it. But this game is not a true successor to 3. It is built to be on phones. And as we all know, games on phones have a lot of microtransactions. And for people who are familiar with games, you're like, oh, I just bought a game. I put it in my machine, and it just worked. Well, when you're on phones, they're always trying to nickel and dime you for another $3 here, $5 there. Hey, do you want your shield to be gold and glow? That's $1. Everything is $1. Everything's $2. Everything's $8. Everything's $12. There have been gross over manipulations of people, gambling apps and stuff like that. But even in games where it's like, oh, if you want your character to look like whatever, Scooby-Doo, it'll be 20, it's not dollars, it's always like coins or gems or whatever. Well, your kid's playing on your phone, and it says 20 gems. Well, you hit the 20 gems, well, it automatically charges the credit card attached to your iTunes or whatever. Well, it comes out to be $25 just to make your character look like whatever, Scooby-Doo or whatever they're offering. And that's bad, and people complain about that, or the ease of which people can do that even on accident. Kids charging $2,000 to their Fortnite, parents' Fortnite credit card and all that stuff, right? There's been some gross uses of that. Well, someone figured out something you could do for free in Diablo 3 is, you level up your character. You become super powerful, and you go on these big, crazy missions at the end where you're fighting demons that fill up your whole screen, and it's a 25-minute battle with 30 people all converging on this demon and taking them down systematically, and kind of like Leroy Jenkins, kind of give me the numbers, you're trying. Okay,
right,
we need
do this.
Yeah, we need some healers. We need this guy to make him dizzy so we can hit him more, and this and that. So you have to kind of plan. It's this end game, they call it, right, where you really enjoy yourself, and I'm looking forward to that because I did a little bit of that on 3. Turns out in order to fully level up your character, someone figured out, even with I think this is the worst possible odds for these, quote, drops on your phone, on this phone game, it would cost you $110,000.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And this is the worst odds. Even the best odds aren't great. I think there was something like 60 or 80 grand. Well, the idea is some of these people, people play phone games. People have been playing Fortnite. I've been playing Apex for 3 years. People playing Fortnite for 5. Played Halo 2 and 3 with you guys for 3 years. But that you buy it, you're done.
Yeah.
On the phone, they're keeping you there. And so yeah.
Trust me, I know a little bit about this.
Yes, I know. And if you want to just, what I've learned is if you want to just play the game to its inevitable end where you're fighting the big demon and you're kind of still partying up and having that experience of Gauntlet. I know you can relate to that. Like having that 4 people around the screen and go to the left, go to the right, all that stuff. But in a much more dynamic situation. Like, I need a healer. I need this. I need that. Come over here. Do this. There's a lot more strategy to this version of that kind of Gauntlet experience for someone who, hasn't played it. You can still play this game that way, enjoy it, get to the end of it, get to the end of the game without doing the sort of end game 2 years down the road. I'm still playing my mage who has the level 150 armor that does this, that, and the other. If you want to be that person, it sounds like they're really being disgusting and it's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you just want to play the game, which is what I still intend on doing, getting to the end of it, partying up with friends, going on adventures, and doing that stuff like we did back in the day with Gauntlet, and me liking 3, Diablo Immortal is out. I wouldn't have said this 2 days ago, but within the past 2 days, I've heard the raw numbers. Play at your own risk. Understand they are trying to really get their money's worth out of you. And just plan on not giving the money. Play it for the experience. If you've never played a modern-day style Gauntlet game, this is the easiest way to do it. It's free to download on your phone. You can literally go, hey, what's your screen name? To someone at work. They'll give it to you, and on lunch you can play. You can play with people all over the world. When you get home, you can download it on your laptop. It's not too intensive to be played on your laptop. You can then play at home with people out there on their phone in bed, all kinds of things. So you can still get this experience for free. This is my take on it. I don't like the gross, strangling of the player base to try to get a lot of money out of them. But if you just want to try a Diablo with a bunch of people in an easy way, have a good time, relive that Gauntlet from the 80s. We're talking about Stranger Things. Relive that Gauntlet experience in a new way if you haven't played games in a while. This is a free way. You download it for free. You can play the whole game for free to the end. And if you don't want to spend any money, don't. That's my only recommendation. I know this isn't on Xbox or anything yet. It probably never will be, so odds of you playing it are pretty slim. But we can get you a copy of Diablo 3 and maybe get you on there just to have you see the feel of that. I still have my character, so we can get you in there and try it kind of a new age Gauntlet that way for that experience. But yeah, it's called Diablo Immortal. It's on Google phones, iTunes, and it's on PC. It's all free to download. Doesn't cost you a cent. And you can still play and get that part of the enjoyment out of it, which is what I'm choosing to focus on, not the horrible, gross exploitation of the player base and hopefully kids. That's, you don't want them doing that, but money.
Yeah, exactly. All comes down to that.
I'll just like I always do, I always put links and to trailers and music things, everything we're talking about here. There'll be links both in the iTunes notes when you're looking at or listen on your phone. There'll also be the notes at the bottom of the video here on YouTube, so you can always click on them and it'll kind of experience what we're talking about.
Okay. So for my third and final thing that makes me happy is something local for the Chicagoans. Sergio's listening right now. He's going nuts at the fact that I use the term Chicagoans, considering we're both guys from the suburbs.
Right.
But it's a lot easier than saying the Elginites. or
Yeah.
the Schomburgians. Okay, so we'll just go with Chicagoans because the store is in Chicago. Okay,
Napervillians.
yes, and this past weekend, and Morgan and I were going down town to play trivia at the Music Box. Okay, which turned out we chose the one week that they didn't have trivia.
Is that how it always
Okay.
works?
Yes, pretty much. But before we came to that realization, at least before I did, I went down to one of my favorite places to be. And people who don't know, the Music Box Theater is about 4 walking blocks away from Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
So you're basically in Wrigleyville, and the Southport, the street Southport, where the Music Box Theater is located, is just a wonderful, group of restaurants and bars. Some fast food stuff, some restaurants and stores and coffee shops and pizza places and stuff. It's a really, you just walk up and down the street and you can just walk in and out of places, and it's a fantastic place.
I
And
walked
one of
halfway down that block the night of the thing, and it was a place. All it did was make empanadas.
Yeah,
All
there's
different
like
kinds of
3 of
empanadas.
those.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of those. There's a market down the other way there's a Dairy Queen right up down the street there, and right across the street from the Dairy Queen, there's a marketplace that does empanadas there as well, which a lot of our people swear by, the festival people when we're down there hanging out. But one of my favorite places to go when I'm down there is called Candiality, which is the candy store, which is just a couple blocks down, not couple blocks, couple doors down from the Music Box. And it's just a great classic candy shop with all types of candies. You can bag up your own in jars and whatnot. They have some older candy, not older as in to eat, but just classic sort of candy that they still make that you can't really find in a lot of places.
Like the vintage, like the what's the black licorice gum?
Beeman's.
That may be it. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, they have that kind of stuff where they like still make the old school candy, but it's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's vintage. That's cool.
Yeah, not Beeman's. What?
I'll look it up. I can't remember the name.
I should know that.
My mother eats it. I can't stand black licorice. She
I don't like black licorice either. But yeah, but that's that's one. So that's one thing out of 1,000 at the Candiality to not get. But
well, if you like black licorice,
unless you like black licorice,
yeah,
more power to you. But so I went in there with the purpose of getting candy for the purpose of our trivia experience we were going to have. So we had some candy to munch on, and I asked what she wanted and whatnot. She's like, whatever you get. So I went in there and walked away with this, gigantic bag of candy that I didn't split. I ended up not splitting it with her when we left that day. So I've been just eating this shit all by myself, which is probably not good for me.
No.
But I'm not usually like a candy sweets person in general. I don't seek it out if it's not around me. But if I'm in Candiality, well, shit, when in Rome, right?
Right.
So so I'll just show you some of the things that I do because when you buy at Candiality, as you're checking out, they tell you what your candy personality is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes.
Do they use a magic 8-ball to do this, or
they don't use a magic 8-ball? They somehow know, depending on what kind of sweet sour stuff you get. I think I always come off as adventurous. I don't remember all the shtick and whatnot, but there is some gummy bears.
Of course.
I've gone through that because I thought we would both enjoy. These are the ones that I used to get all the time at the one Schaumburg Place Theater when it existed, and they had a candy place. But those watermelon sour,
yes,
those are lovely. And 2 of my I over the last few years I've developed a taste for. They're called Airheads.
Yeah.
And they're like these strips. They're like these sour strips, and they're rainbow flavored. But at Candiality, they have a whole bunch of these with different flavors, and it's kind of awesome. So they got pink lemonade.
Ooh.
pink lemonade sour, and it's amazing. It's awesome too because when you finish the pink lemonade, you're left with all the sugar at the bottom.
Yeah.
You pretend like you got cocaine.
Well, you know the fun and bad part about that is, yes, it's the sugar, but it's also the stuff that makes the sour taste. It's a chemical name. I can't think of it because
right.
I love that sour taste. It's a mix of the sugar and that. So if you just down that last bit of sugar with the last piece of candy, there's so much of that sour chemical. It squishes your head in. Like you can't handle the amount of sour, but it's so good.
I imagine it's the same feeling in the movies when the cops take the coke or the drug dealers take the cocaine and they rub it on their lips like that. I mean, it's the same thing, I'm guessing. And also watermelon sour.
Yes.
Strips. Amazing. Right?
Well, so you had the watermelon candy sours that look like little watermelons, but then you have the watermelon strips that are sour.
Yeah, these are not. I mean, these are like they have a sour taste, but they're also sweet. They're not too sour.
Sure.
These other ones, the watermelon, those are a bit more sour, and red licorice bites.
Yeah, I mean, come on, classic.
Red licorice, not So yeah, I mean, Candiality again. It's you go in there and you're gonna find something you want to walk in. They even have like pop bottles, like classic, like sugar, like whatever like the worst kind of alcohol is. It's probably like the worst kind of sugar.
Yeah.
For you, but it's that really sweet sugar based juice pop type stuff.
Yeah.
That is just ooh yeah. So you can go in there and have a party.
I knew you would eat candy. I'm surprised at your choice of sour candy. I don't remember you being a sour candy guy. Ever.
Really?
That's my thing. I love sour.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always loved. Like Sour Patch Kids.
Sure. Well, I think whatever. Pick them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was always a thing of mine. But again, it's just like if it's around me, I'll have it. But I don't like I gotta go get myself some candy, kind of thing.
But I noticed with the bag of stuff.
Yeah.
Not one piece of chocolate.
No, I'm not a big chocolate
See?
person. Yeah. I like chocolate. You give me, cake, chocolate malt, whatnot. I don't dislike the taste of chocolate, but I don't, again, seek it out. If I have a shake, I'd rather have a strawberry shake than a chocolate shake.
Yeah, probably more like that as well.
Yeah,
see, I mean, we're spoiled being near Chicago here because we have Long Grove.
Mm.
And it's tons of chocolatiers there. So, like, if I want to get, you can get chocolate at a lot of places. But, like, you can go to Long Grove. They have Chocolate Fest every year. And it's all these people who, like, you go into them, and they're literally hand-making chocolates.
Yeah.
Every different kind. Dark chocolate, semi-sweet, like, real heavy, the cacao chocolate.
Yeah.
Different kinds, turtles. They're hand-making, wrapping the pretzels right there in front of you, like. If I want chocolate, that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to, take a trip to Long Grove and get some of that. But when it comes to candy like that, I think when I was a kid, I was a big M&M's guy, big, chocolate bar kind of person.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I've gotten older, though, straight up, I want sugar in the raw. I want sour.
Yeah.
Carlos and I were talking about that because he did these big, giant sweet tarts he found.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, I love sour candy. So that's why I'm surprised that there was not one bit of chocolate and it was mostly sour candy in that bag.
Yeah, no, when I go in there, they got plenty of chocolate for everyone. They got a whole table full of jars just full of different types of chocolate things and whatnot. But, I always go for sour or something a little sweeter than that. I like taffy. They have little taffy things in there that you can get. Cotton candy things and whatnot.
You mentioned red licorice bits.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a red licorice or red vine guy? Like, what's the Twizzlers or red vine guy?
Twizzlers.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
People can like what they like. We're not going to yuck anybody's yum. But I don't get the red vine thing. To me, it tastes like plastic or like really artificial. It tastes tough. Like it doesn't taste good to me.
But don't you think that that's solely because wherever they grew up or whatever, this Red Vines was in the house or Red Vines was at their local store, that was the candy option for them, as opposed to, like Twizzlers wherever was available, that was what we would eat.
Well, I'm assuming a lot of tastes come from that. Like, if you grow up in an area where, like we're in Chicago, shy of you, most people don't put ketchup on their hot dogs. But if you have it the Chicago way, or mostly the Chicago way. But then you go to other towns and ketchup is a necessity, or, chili cheese is number one, and then, ketchup and mustard aren't even a consideration. Right. I mean, I get that part of it. But I mean, again, if you were to say, like, do you want something that's chewy and super cherry or strawberry and have a juice, like actual juice, and it tastes sweet and it's gooey, like you would think a Twizzler or a Vine candy would taste like when you eat it, or would you want like a straw that happens to have a tiny bit of red flavoring in it? You would think you would pick the other one, but like I said, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. I'm not saying anybody's at fault for liking the other one. I don't get it. I don't.
No, well, Red Vines always felt like the generic version of Twizzlers, and I've eaten plenty of generic candy. That's not the norm and whatnot, and it's perfectly fine. But if you had my options between, there's Twizzlers, there's Red Vines, and in the middle there's Super Rope that you would get at the pool.
Oh my God, Super Rope! I
I
haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah,
I have to look that up.
I think the pool is Rainbow Falls. Was the only place you could get. Yeah, you worked there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is the only place you could get Super Rope or Carnival. You could get a Super Rope at places like that, and so you get that every once in a while. But even that had a distinct flavor to it. It tasted good.
It was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
because it was harder to chew than a Twizzler.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite as hard to chew as like a Red Vine.
Yeah.
I think it's Californians swear by Red Vine. I want to say it's a coastal thing maybe too.
I've heard. That's popped up in either TV or movies recently. If someone was arguing Red Vines or Twizzlers or something like that, and so maybe it's a California thing. I don't know. You
really want to throw something in the mix. Twizzlers makes that pull and peel stuff that's even more squishy and juicy than a regular Twizzler.
Yes.
And it's cherry, which I prefer over strawberry. I've
a couple times gotten the colorful rainbow version of the and it's it's all different flavors and whatnot, and it's tasty.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Sugar's gonna end up getting
Candiality on Southport. If you're ever by the Music Box Theater, stop by Candiality, get your candy personality, and just go nuts.
The good thing is if you're visiting the Chicagoland area, that's only 2-ish blocks away from the L.
Right. Oh yeah.
So you take the L. You can take the L north and south in Chicago, and you can hit all the major landmarks. And so if you want to go to the Wrigleyville or Wrigleyville / Southport / Boys Town area, you take that L north, and boom, you're at the northern portion of the city. You're not in the city proper, but you are in Chicago, but you're not downtown. Excuse me, you're not downtown. You're north, and then you're 2 blocks away from the theater, this Candiality place, and Wrigleyville, and
perfect way to spend your weekend if you just want to just kind of hang out. And like you said, you're 4 blocks from Wrigley Field and just walk around that area in bars and T-shirts and restaurants and whatnot. We went to a place called Happy Camper, so that's where we ended up.
No trivia at Happy Camper.
No trivia at Happy Camper. Just a good club sandwich and a couple drinks. So
you had other. There's a lot of candy buying that day.
Yes, there was.
Yeah. So
yes, there was.
I'll go to my number 3. Excuse me. Still coughing. I can't get rid of this.
Yeah, it's okay.
Which
candy if you want to work on that.
Yeah. It's distinctly different from happy-go-lucky going to the candy store and enjoying yourself with some sweets. It is Robocop in 4K.
Oh, did you get it?
I did.
Oh.
Yes.
You got something that I don't.
And it's not a promo. I had to pay for it. Yeah, I mean, you know how much I love Robocop. Yeah, again, one of my top 10 films. It's way up there. I love that movie. And the best part is you get both versions.
Yeah.
So there's a disc for the director's cut, disc for theatrical cut, full 4K, which is great. They cleaned it up really well. I don't know. Have you seen any 4K cuts of this, even streaming or anything?
Not streaming, no. No.
And you don't have the disc yet.
I think no, I don't even have the disc. I think I've seen some stills of the comparisons and whatnot, but that's as far as I go.
Here's the weird part, and again, I love it. A, we're going to talk about RoboCop because it's awesome, but B, I will say that you're for RoboCop fans who haven't bought it yet, which I can't imagine you haven't. I even got the Steelbook because I love him stepping out of the squad car poster image. Well, that's on the front. It's a great Steelbook, by the way. It's so if you splurge for the extra $5 or $6 if you like, if you're a fan. But the only weird part I noticed is the cleanup job is really good. It looks very good. Very nice in 4K. The audio was perfect. The funny part is it didn't automatically flip to 5.1. I had to go into settings and tell it to go to 5.1, even though it sensed my receiver. I want to say other, newer DVDs or Blu-rays have done that. So I'm not quite sure why I didn't do that, but regardless. The only thing that was weird is it looks really, really good. I didn't get it. Sergio said, but Arrow sent me the Brawn of Frankenstein. Oh, okay. They didn't give you RoboCop. You would think that would be the huge one they'd give you.
I mean, I think we probably both asked for it because I'm sure we both wanted to talk about it on the podcast, but neither of us got it.
Okay.
We got Wild Things.
Yeah, Wild Things.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it looks really good. The weird part is, anytime they show Ed 209, because it's that, Clash of the Titans stop motion stuff for Ed. It's a practical. It's not CGI. They revert to the old footage.
Really?
They didn't clean that up. So you'll see it won't look grainy. It'll look really nice and clean. It'll look perfect. And anytime they show only, like if Ed's on the screen and it's not a super wide shot, so like, the boardroom where they, Ed 209 and the doors fly open and here you take the gun, and, threaten him, point it at him. If they're just showing them talk and he's talking, he hands him the Desert Eagle and here, pointed at Ed 209, all that's crystal clear. The second they show a shot with a majority of Ed in it, it's grainy again. It's the weirdest thing, and I'm telling Mrs. Fun while we're watching, I'm like, why are they doing that? I thought maybe it was just one shot. Like, okay, they forgot. Like, some idiot forgot this 3 seconds of footage, and the rest is going to look great. Well, later on, it happens again. Happens again. Happens again. Every time, Ed going down the stairs. Bad. Not bad. Probably a really nice HD, 1080 version, but it's not 4K. And again, if anyone else has gotten this, please tell me otherwise in the notes or whatever. But I distinctly saw the grain. And then immediately when they would cut back, I'm very disappointed. Perfect. 4K. Like, really good. And so I don't know if they were like, well, if they tried upscaling Ed, and because maybe it's a two-plater thing or him being superimposed on it, when they tried to redo it, the AI or the human couldn't get it to look right. And so they're like, well, screw it, just leave. It's only a few scenes, so leave it at that. It's strange. With that said, it's RoboCop, and it's awesome. When's the last time you watched RoboCop?
The last time I actually sat and watched RoboCop, I can't say it was. It was years ago that Nick DiGilio had a screening of it, and I know I've watched it since then.
Okay.
It must have been because there was a RoboCop package, a Blu-ray package that Arrow did before the 4K. So whenever that came out, it might have been a couple years ago. I watched it then, which looked great, and it's amazing. It probably looks like the same. It's not a Steelbook, but it probably looks exactly like the 4K package, all the extras and whatnot. So that was probably the last time I actually sat through the entire movie. I've seen bits and pieces of it,
Of course.
here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, Mrs. Fun hadn't seen it in a long time. I don't know how long, but long enough. And the satire still hits me. I'm a big fan of how it's not just an action movie. Because it easily could have just, because that's really what the remake was.
Mm-hmm.
You really wanted, we're going to action it up for the current fans because they can't think for more than 5 seconds because that's the way they think we're all idiots.
Yeah.
It's like the Nukem board game and they keep cutting to the news and they're showing the 2 years ago.
The 6000 SUX.
Yeah, 6000. I want to real fast and get really shitty gas mileage. Yeah, like the mayor who doesn't like the fact that he lost the election. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to recount. Yeah, the whole thing, all the satire. They're talking about they'd cut to the newscasters and they're talking about the war in, I think, South America and all this kind of stuff. But they have like smiles on their faces. Hey, they're doing the TV broadcaster
Good
thing.
luck, Frank.
Yeah, good luck, Frank. That's right. It's again, to truly appreciate good satire. It is what it is. It's a sci-fi movie that has really good action, a super interesting story, and the satire. And I don't know. If you're not I can't imagine whoever's listening or anybody we know has never seen Robocop. I mean, I cannot imagine a human who has not seen it by now. But even if they have, I can't imagine not liking it in some form or fashion. Whether you just like it because it's the cool tech and Robocop looks cool and he's shooting the thing, okay, fine, you like it for that reason. But you can like it on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, I know I told you this story before. The first time I saw Robocop was on VHS, and it was the neighbor across the street who was always bringing. We were always swapping. If we rented something, we always, here, I rented this. Take a look at it. Blah blah blah. And it was like 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. It was a school night, and like 10 o'clock on a school night, at my front door, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I open the door, and it's the neighbor from across the street, and he just holds up the VHS, like, Robocop. Like, here you go. And I watched it.
At Thursday 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday?
10 o'clock at night on Thursday before school the next day. And I still remember the high at the end of that movie. I'm like, say it. And he says his name.
Yep.
Robocop. I'm like, there you go. Perfect. Perfect ending to a perfect movie.
Yeah, it's... you have that Friendship Dilemma podcast, and right after I was done, watching it, with you and Morgan, and I was watching, I said, of all the things I've every once in a while I'll go, oh, add this one to your list. Maybe this is, whatever. Like I've said, Firefly and a couple others. Mm-hmm. I forgot about RoboCop.
That's a good one.
Because they never even.
Well, he's married.
Right, but you people can be flirty, and she's interested in him. Like this guy seems interesting. I'll take you out on that first day when they go to get coffee. She really barely knows him. Frankly, she really only knows him for those couple first hours of that first shift before he gets obliterated in front of her. Yeah. But in a way, like she knew he was a decent dude. Like he was just trying to impress his kid.
Yeah.
Like he seemed like a good dad. He seemed like a decent Joe in this horrible city, and she was like, huh, she even makes that face.
Yeah.
And then he gets killed, and then immediately when she sees him, at the gun range, and he drops the, gun in his hip, she goes like, oh, it's him. And even when she approaches him, it's not in any other way other than like she seems to genuinely just care that this dude who lost his life is now being manipulated or tortured, or hey man, Murphy, it's you, that whole thing, like, there was no weird romance or any of that stuff involved, and it's good.
It's a really good topic for our podcast too, because it's a different, it's a very specific kind of friendship. It's a partner thing. It's a mutual respect kind of thing. And so it's not quite the norm, even of just friendship type stuff. There's a different angle to it that can be explored, and that's the kind of thing we're looking for on the show. So
definitely,
that's a very good suggestion. Here's my favorite piece of RoboCop trivia.
Okay,
it's a little bit of a trick because it's not just RoboCop. So okay, here you go. Let's see if you can answer this. Maybe I've told you this one before. Okay, RoboCop is not the only movie to feature a lead character named Frank Murphy, who is also a cop, and features the exact same reporter from RoboCop, Good Luck Frank, as a reporter on television.
Wow.
There are two movies. They're both from the 80s. This one came out before RoboCop.
I'm trying to think of the reporter being a reporter in something else. That's where I'm, because I wouldn't know the Frank Murphy character, the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure. I could be here for an hour. I don't know.
Sure. Blue Thunder.
Oh, wow, really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Roy Scheider plays Officer Frank Murphy.
That's right.
In Blue Thunder, and that same reporter is on television doing news broadcasts. He's one of the guys that, like, this person, the councilwoman's been killed, and given reports throughout.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe they're in the same universe. I don't know. That reporter is the connecting thread.
Right. If the TV station, if the news station is the same callback,
right?
That'd be interesting. Although one's Detroit and one's L.A., right?
I think Los Angeles.
Yeah. Blue Thunder, I think, takes place in L.A. But yeah, the other piece of trivia, which I think I've told you before, is, but I think you and I were just talking. I don't think it was on any of our podcasts, maybe yours. But I mentioned one of the movies that made us. It's on Netflix. The little mini docs they do about movies. And I watched the RoboCop one. And when they originally thought of him, they have pictures. I don't know. They have special features of a new interview with the writer. And so it's called The Making of, or The Birth of RoboCop, or something like that. So they may have still pictures in there. I haven't watched it yet. But in the movies that made us little doc on Netflix, they, show just how harrowing this whole thing was, because this was potentially one of their last movies they were financing, and they didn't have a director, and then they went with Verhoeven, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a gamble because they didn't trust him, and he was making all these demands and blah blah blah. But as they were talking about the design of RoboCop, which was a whole nother issue because Peter Weller was having issues and the other guy was having issues. Yeah. They show an initial mock-up, and the whole thing was because they were trying to do... Oh, no, this was about 2000 AD. That's where I saw it. The documentary, we talked about this, you and I, on your podcast. Yeah. The documentary about 2000 AD, the comic, the British comic.
Yeah.
And in that doc, they talked about how people had taken that early 80s British, not humor, but satire and spoofing of sci-fi and mystical stuff. And they talked about how RoboCop was initially based on Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And the satirical nature of law enforcement in the future and this and that. But if you see the still they use, the body of RoboCop looks like the body of RoboCop, but the initial gray helmet almost looks exactly like Judge Dredd's helmet. Like, they didn't even bother trying to change it. It was just an American movie studio with an American writer-director going, let's just do that. No one here knows what Judge Dredd looks like at this point. And there's a gray shot of like a mock-up, and you'd be surprised just how similar it was. So, someone illegal probably was like, you can't do that. And then they redesigned the helmet for him. But it's a legacy. I'm a defender of 2. I like Frank Miller, and I know he wrote it, and I know people hate it. But there are some more fun things in there, like the car alarm satire. And I like when they try to find someone else that can be their new version of RoboCop 2.
Right.
And they realize that just putting other people's brains into a cyborg doesn't automatically make a Robocop. You know, if you're a little off, you're probably not going to be a decent human. That's another way. It's Murphy's a one of a kind. That's why he's special. He's a decent human being, and that's what makes him a good person and, cop or whatever. But yeah, it was just fun watching it again. It was such a great movie.
Yeah, no, Robocop is amazing. One of the greats.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to a project that I am actually working on that I've been asked to do by our good friend Sergio.
I heard about this.
Yes, and Sergio Mims and I once a month do a radio show on WHPK radio at the University of Chicago. And for years we go down to the radio station, we do it live and everything. During the pandemic, we've gotten it once we started doing shows again. We've been doing it more virtually and editing it, and then we just play it and whatnot. But he's talked about this for a couple years now, about me doing this thing, because the other weeks of the month he does a classical music show, and it's a really amazing listen. If you want to learn anything about classical music, you listen to that and listen to Sergio talk about it. It's really special. But
you've heard him on here, but I mean, like, bottomless pit in a nice way. Bottomless pit of music knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say I love music. I don't always know how the sausage is made all the time. So I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even tell you instruments. We go to the CSO thing with Sergio, gets us tickets for and everything. And when we go there, I just watch the people do their thing, and it's unbelievable. I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm in awe every time I see it. So he has asked me to program for his show an entire episode as a tribute to John Williams, and this is an incredibly daunting task. That I am equally excited and terrified about in many respects, because like I said, I couldn't tell you, just listening to it, I couldn't tell you everything that goes into the music. So the way I'm going to approach it likely is talking about it in the context of the scenes that they're being played as part of, and how they amplify the action or underscore the action and stuff like that. And then also why specifically I picked these tracks as the ones I wanted to use to do a tribute to John Williams. So I went through his entire resume, basically, and, jotted down a few tracks, and then started editing basically which ones I think I want to use. And that's where I'm at right now. And I'm just sort of piecing it together and trying to figure out what order I want to put things in and what order I want to talk about things in. And it's a 3-hour show, so I got to time this exactly right too. So there are things that are going to get missed, at least in this show. So it's just narrowing it down how do you narrow that resume down, especially to just one track. I said to you about, The Empire Strikes Back. You think about how many character themes are in that one movie. You have the Imperial March, you have Han and Leia's theme, you have Yoda's theme, you have all the other great action music, the Hoth battle and, Cloud City battle. That's one movie. And I have to somehow narrow it down to 3 hours of music. And I think I'm trying to play entire tracks, and some of them will run like 11.
I don't even know how you're going to pull that off, because a lot of those tracks are 8.5 minutes long.
Well, some of them, there's some of them where I only want to play a very specific piece of the track.
Sure.
Like there's one particular, like Return of the Jedi, that I specifically want to do. And I just want to try to program it as an ebb and flow to the music. And I think I have an idea of how it's going to be done, but it's going to if everything goes right this month and I get it completely done, I think July 9th is when it's planning to be aired on WHPK radio. And it might show up as a podcast. We're looking into that. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, and I want to get it done because it's going to be on my mind for the next 30 days. So I'm trying to get it out of here. But
that's awesome. And yes, it's stressful, but it's one of those things where you hear someone like, "Oh, I gotta something that's so fun, but I'm doing it for 8 hours or whatever," and it's like, yeah, but what July 5th says Sergio looks like July 5th.
Okay.
That's not a bad way to spend the next 30 days is listening to a jillion hours of John Williams music.
No, I mean that's all I did. I don't remember what day it was, but within the last week, that's all I did one night, and I just went through listening to specific tracks, and I'm like, well, how can I not play this? And then I'm just like, oh, you only have 3 hours, dummy.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's.
Well, we were just talking the other night when you mentioned it to me. And I said, man, congrats. And Sergio texted me immediately. Both of you texted me almost exactly at the same time to let me know that it was happening. And I'm like, oh, I can't. That's awesome. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But when I texted you back, I'm like, well, I mean, of course you got to play all the themes. And you're like, well, the Star Wars. And I know you know what I meant, but like, even if you just do 10 minutes on. These are all the iconic. We talked about John Williams a million times, so I won't get too much into the rabbit hole. But even if you just went, okay, the very basic, you got to get every theme in there. Superman, Indiana Jones. There's a million. Keep going. Each of the individual Star Wars, the regular Star Wars theme, all the character themes from the Star Wars movies. All of it, Jaws, all of it. Even if you go back to, we always talked about what Sergio taught me, which is Lost in Space. Mm-hmm. Although I don't think he composed it, I think he put it together. That's his, basically. And the reason, if you hear it now, you go, wow, okay, yeah, that's right. That's John Williams. Like, there's a million themes to shows, and especially movies. That alone, if you played all those themes, that's 50 minutes. You've eaten an hour. Right. That's just the themes.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, again, it's one of those things. It's like if you go to a concert, you want to hear the hits. If you go see John Williams,
sure.
in a concert, you hope that he'll play something from Raiders or something from Star Wars or something E.T. You hope that he plays the things that you really want to hear. With this one, I'm trying to do it as a balance. I'm trying to do. I mean, some of the themes will definitely be in there. Don't you worry. But some of the ones like a Duel of the Fates, for example, which just has to be in there because it's incredible. But they're also like instead of playing the Jaws theme, everyone knows the Jaws theme, but as a very specific piece of music in Jaws, there's another one that I like even more than the theme. So that's the kind of thing that I'm going to do with a number of the movies is play something down the list.
Sure.
And some of those will incorporate the theme into it, so you get a little bit of it. But yeah, it's a thing right now, and I'm don't make no mistake, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying,
I know.
It's the kind of worry that comes with wanting to get it right.
It's a good worry.
It's a good worry.
Yeah.
It's the kind of worry that I'm used to, frankly. So it's not that far off, but I've never had to program a show quite like this before, other than me just you and I bullshitting or the podcast or whatnot,
sure,
and whatnot, which we can do forever. But it's like getting it specific right and crafting it so when people listen to it for 3 hours, they'll get what I'm going for.
Now, I may be ignorant, but when we did our comic book one, when you took me there and we did the one about comic book and comic book movies, there are commercials or there are not? Have you figured commercials into it? Does he do they do commercials on WHPK?
Yeah, there's the commercials.
Did he tell you how many minutes per hour you get, so you know?
Yeah, well, it's I have the spots.
Oh, okay. So what time? 11 minutes in?
It doesn't even have to be. It has to be a certain amount per hour.
Okay.
So it's not. I mean, it's college. It's University of Chicago. It's college radio. So it's not like doing 11, 12 minutes of commercials every 12 minutes. So I don't have to figure that much into it. I just have to make sure I hit the time and the whatever time I decide to do. And I could do it at any time, but it has to be at least like once every hour.
Sure.
So it really amount to about 2 to 3 minutes tops.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, not at all.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Sergio says you got to add his song from The Guide to the Married Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have television themes on my list.
The iconic The Guide to the Married Man song that everybody knows.
But you're talking about the Mike Bender show, Sergio? That HBO thing? Or is that Mind of a Married Man?
I think that might be mine.
This must be something from the 60s that I'm
Gotta
not
be
familiar with.
Actually. Or 70s, more like it, right?
It could be 70s, yeah.
Because he started every 30 60 minutes and station ID. So there you go.
John Williams or Johnny Williams, Sergio?
Lost in Space was Johnny Williams. So you're talking late 60s, right? Because it was black and white.
Late 60s, yeah.
Yeah.
Every 30 to 60 minutes and station ID. So there you go.
There you go.
So.
My number 4, the thing I'm looking forward to, again, it got a little messed up because this is 2 days after Wednesday, which is the movie industry doesn't really have anything similar except for maybe Con or something like that. The Matthau yep, 68, what'd I say? Late 60s.
Yeah, there you go.
The Walter Matthau comedy.
Right.
Maybe Cannes Film Festival, because they're seeing things so far in advance, then you kind of hear through the grapevine, oh, this one won awards, this one's good, maybe it's coming out soon. Mm-hmm. But it's not, you don't get to see them. It's not like they're all of a sudden, here, we're going to show you all the trailers in one day of every movie that's at Cannes, Right. Even your thing doesn't do that, but you do have access to some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. You'll show trailers and posters and things. Once a year, ever since, I don't want to say ever since Mortal Kombat, but the video game industry once a year, the ESRB, which in essence is what fought the government over Mortal Kombat 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
They've done a trade show, and it's always been called E3, and once a year, basically, it was a trade show. You get, store chain managers and stuff to show, buyers, basically, to go, and Sony would put on a press event, and they would say, here's the stuff you can be looking forward to this year, this kind of thing. It's kind of like, what they used to do is it used to take place, I think, in Vegas around the same time as, what's the tech one? Consumer Electronics Show, yeah. CES. Yes. And so it kind of happened around that same time, and again, it was, hey, we're Nintendo, just so you know, if you're going to be buying stuff from us over the next year, here's the 20 games we're releasing, and you're looking for that new Mario game. It's coming out next January. That kind of stuff. And you would hear about it in magazines. Well, for the last 30 years or so, it's been huge. And every year, especially now that since the internet became big and YouTube and websites and all that stuff that we just take commonplace now. Every year, every gamer looks forward to E3 because that's where you got to see all the trailers for all the games coming out over the next 12 months. And a lot of times it was stuff you had no idea they were even making. So there'd be all these surprise announcements like, oh, I didn't, Metal Gear Solid 2's coming out. And people would be like, I didn't even know they were making it or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a trailer and you're like, wow, this game looks great. It's coming out in 8 months. And then you got all jacked up about 8 months from now. I can pre-order it and pick it up and I can play a new whatever game. Well, due to COVID and their mismanagement and a lot, companies not having to give them money to do it anymore. They'll just do it on their own website. Costs them no dollars. And they can do their own press. E3 is kind of no more. This is the very first year in 30-something years they're not doing it. But people have picked up the slack. The internet has picked up the slack. And I always kind of wait for this time of year to get to see what I get to play over the next 12 months. As of yesterday, something called the Summer Game Fest is this guy Jeff Keighley does it, and there were 2.5 hours of trailers and announcements yesterday, and that's all over the industry: PC, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. He's just friendly with everybody, and so he does these things. He does the Game Awards show and that. So that was yesterday. So Wednesday, had I talked about this, I was looking forward to the beginning of this next 10 days or so. In this case, it's 2 days later, and I watched it yesterday, Summer Games Fest, the 2 hours, half hours. Sunday is the Xbox press event. And not only am I always excited for what they have to say anyway, but in the last year and a half, they've bought Activision Blizzard. They've bought Bethesda Game Studios, Doom, Fallout, Wolfenstein. Activision is Call of Duty, and there's like 50 new IPs. They own all of it. They own all of it now. Microsoft owns Doom. Microsoft owns Call of Duty. Microsoft owns Fallout. So in addition to the Microsoft games I'm looking forward to, like the new Forza Motorsport Sergio, there probably will be a trailer on Sunday, so get ready for that. He's a big racing fan. And maybe some Halo news and some other stuff of the games they make. New Gears, possibly. Gears of War 6 maybe talked about, and Fable. All these great things I was looking to anyway. They may talk about a new Fallout game. They may talk about, not because they own all of it now. So it's probably going to be 3 hours of awesomeness on Sunday. So I still have that to look forward to. But quickly, they, excuse me, yesterday, and amongst all these fun announcements, they announced a new Aliens game. And so I still haven't gotten you and Sergio and maybe some other mutual friends on to do a 4-player playthrough of Elite Fireteam, which we still have to do. But they have a new squad game where you control other Marines and you're working your way through a new story, all new story of the Colonial Marines in an alien situation. And so that's a big announcement that you'll appreciate. I'll send a link as well. But yeah, it's I don't think the movie industry has something similar to that, does it? Like a trade show, like here's everything you can look forward to for the next 12 months.
Well, they do, actually. It's called CinemaCon.
Okay.
In Las Vegas, which I've been to a couple times. And it's for the theater owners.
Okay.
For the theater owners. So all the major studios come out and basically show, here's what we got coming out over the next year or 3 years. If you're looking at like a Marvel or something like that, here's what we got coming out. And sometimes they debut trailers there. They even debut a few movies there. This last CinemaCon, they actually did premiere Top Gun Maverick there.
Okay.
They showed the whole movie. So that was where the first reactions out of Top Gun Maverick came out of. But they showed new clips of certain things, and which then eventually get put on YouTube and stuff like that. Not pirated, but
right.
They release them and stuff like that. But yeah, CinemaCon is what that is, and I've been to, it's at Caesar's Palace. I've been to it a couple times. Part of me wants to go back because it combines two things that I love: movies and Vegas. And that's really, if it was like in Reno, I wouldn't really go. But it's in Vegas, and which is amazing. But it feels like you're there to be a press publicist.
It's a press conference. I mean, even E3, as much as they flashed it up and these big TV screens and they put it all over the internet, and everybody, they'd get like people, insiders to be in the theater and they cheer because they're excited, but they're also in there, so they want them to cheer and make noise. It's still a press event. Sony's, for years, people would make fun of them because when Sony would come up, it was very much a business conference. We sold 32.75 million PlayStation 3s, and that this much generated this much revenue, and people are like, this is boring as hell. And then at the end, they'd show some trailers. They don't even bother. The last 5 years or so, they don't even bother talking figures. If it is, it's like 2 minutes, and then it's here's all the games you can play, and then it's an hour of trailers.
They also bring. I mean, they bring some of the stars in too to schmooze with the. Not so much schmooze, but they get them up on stage and say I think Dwayne Johnson was there and talking about Black Adam and they have directors there. So I mean it's kind of a geeky event for press people. I wasn't crazy about being the guy that walked out of the theater saying like, hey, I just saw the new trailer for this. It looks good. I mean, because that's not But when I walked out of I don't remember if we could what the embargoes kind of thing were, because like I said, they did show some movies and you kind of had to find your way into some of those. But I saw the movie Warrior there one year, the Tom Hardy mixed martial arts thing with Joel Edgerton, which just knocked me on my ass, that movie, which is amazing. So I can't remember how I responded, like doing something, but I think I talked about it on like Nick's show or something like that, and some of the things that I had seen and whatnot. But it just, I don't know, I felt a little unclean about part of it.
Well, and I think that's it. Like you said, it is a press and business event.
Yeah.
This is very much what E3 originally started out as.
Mm-hmm.
We're selling you these games. We're telling you when they're going to be released. We're telling you our plans on how we're going to market them. We're telling you want to invest in Sony because we've sold this many systems. You want to invest in Xbox because we've done this with our networking. It's a lot of, gibberish talk and microchip talk, and this is how much we're going to invest. Like in Netflix, you always hear, well, we're investing $185 million in new IPs, the same stuff. You hear, they used to call them TV upfronts. I remember that. It is very much that. But like I said, it very much turned into, once the internet became popular and you could broadcast that stuff for free, and they would make like a little, hey, here's 3 days of E3 coverage. Well, then it quickly became all about the trailers. And it literally yesterday, Jeff Keighley comes out, Summer Games Fest, 2.5 hours of trailers and announcements, and it's just trailer, announcement, trailer, announcement. No one cared how many systems got sold, didn't tell you how to pre-order any of this stuff. No one cared. It was, look at the cool stuff. You're going to get to play it soon. And that's what Microsoft conferences are. Sunday, it'll be 5 minutes of, hey, man, we're doing well. Game Pass is doing great. Everything's doing good. We bought Activision Blizzard, right? You're looking forward to that. It's going to be great. Okay, the next 2 hours is going to be all trailers, and all of it will be day one on Game Pass, or whatever they're going to say. And then, boom, trailer, world premiere, trailer, boom, boom, boom. And it's just 2 hours of trailers, or an hour and a half. They may break in with, the level designer from something and be like, hey, man, I really enjoyed playing on this game. That's my level design, blah, blah, blah. We're really excited to show you what we've been doing. Boom, trailer, boom, trailer. They don't care. Right. But, again, it was a press junket, and that's the way they used to do it. You remember G4? Oh, man, 3 days of E3 coverage. They would sit there, get the... Sure. David Jaffe, new Twisted Metal games coming out, and interview him for an hour about the new features of the game, and when's it coming out? Like no one cares anymore. So yeah, they just stopped doing it because they realized, before Activision didn't even do it anymore. Yeah. So they just, here's our website, here's the new trailer, or we put it on YouTube 20 minutes ago. Go watch it. They don't need it anymore. Right. So yeah, but anyway, I was looking forward to it. I enjoyed the 2.5 hours. There's some fun stuff, independent games coming out that are interesting. The new Alien game looks fun. And then Sunday's the big one. I think Sony's doing a little bit of something during the week next week. So is Nintendo. I think they call them Treehouse events. They talk about their games. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Cool. It's going to be fun. So I don't know yet. I haven't gotten a confirmation about next week, but we'll be on. I'm going to have to heavily edit this together and then repost it.
Fun.
I found an easy way. Microsoft has a free video editor in Windows. Oh. It's not great. Like, it's not super awesome. Not like Premiere, but right. It's really simple and intuitive. So I'll take these 2 or 3 clips. I'll drop them in, and it should take like an hour to render. Now with this new graphics card, it should take like 20 minutes, and it'll render out this pretty easily. But awesome. And again, thanks for your patience with all this stupidity.
Of course.
And thank everybody else for putting up with the weird break and edit and having to wait 2 days for us to finish this nonsense. So.
Yeah, but if you weren't here live, it's not going to matter.
Right.
You just get it all whole with 2 different outfits.
That's right. Well, the iTunes people won't notice anyway.
Not at all.
So, all right, everybody. See you next week.